Hey you, how you doing? My name is Tommy. Now, in this video, I'm gonna actually do a redo of a coaching call where I went down and went and did a call review for someone who made a request. So I'm gonna be refilming it because the audio was messed up, and I want to make sure that I deliver as I promised I would. So this was submitted by someone. He's a business owner who's looking to get better at sales or potentially just go into closing full time. And so he wanted to have me go back over it and give him some feedback based on what I feel like he should have changed, what he should do in order to close at a higher level, make more money, and ultimately be more successful. And if you're interested, I'm going to be touching on a lot of different topics in this because there's a couple key points that I feel are important. So I'll try to keep this as short as I can, go on the main touch points here, but I'm just going to basically share my screen, share the sound this time, and then go through everything top to bottom. So I'll go ahead and do that quickly, share my sound this time, unlike last time, and then we'll go ahead and get straight into it. So this offer, just for context, is an appointment setting offer, which basically what that means is you go in, you develop a skill set so that you can ultimately make more money. This specific person, I believe, is a teacher, and he's been through a previous program. I touch on a variety of things in this, but for context, this is an outbound lead, meaning like we've reached out to them, gotten them interested enough, they've watched a video, and then they're potentially wanting to do something with us. So it is a little bit different compared to a traditional just inbound sort of role where they have people that have already basically said, yes, I'm going to be here, etc. And they have that high level of desire. This, I'm not going to say there isn't still desire, but it is a different context. So that's something to be aware of. It's going to be harder for you to immediately start bashing people out of the gate because the context of how they're coming in is a little bit different.
Hey, Osman, how's it going,
How are you
buddy?
doing, mate? You right, yeah?
This meeting is being recorded.
I'm doing great. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Do you really want to see me?
Yeah,
So that was a
preferably.
good job calling him
One
out
second.
on the
Let's see
camera.
if it works with Zoom.
Now you want to make sure you do it in a nice way. You don't just immediately be like freaking turn on your camera, but it is important to gauge
Hey.
their
Okay,
intent.
you're right, yeah?
Yeah, that's better. So, yeah, where are you calling from, Osman?
I'm from London, UK.
Perfect. So, this is like the meeting's going to take an hour. Do you have an hour just to make sure?
Hopefully, yeah. I thought it was half an hour, but that's fine. Should be all right, yeah.
Hopefully, or you have the time.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yes, that was a good job there. He's like, hopefully that's kind of in the middle type language, calling that to make sure you have the full time for the call. That was also very good. One thing I'll also say, as I notice as the call goes on, his body language is very like he looks away a lot and he looks out the window a lot. So it could potentially be a confidence thing. But he even says it in the next little bit that he has low confidence. So that potentially is something that we need to hit on to make sure that he's focused on us and that he's focused on the call. Because unless there's a good reason, you shouldn't be looking away a ton. Like he should have some kind of intent. Now, again, because of how the call was created, aka from an outbound sort of perspective, you have to do that with in a more delicate way. You're not going to be able to get away with bashing people about if they're colder. You have to do the same thing and be more nuanced with how you do it. It has to be done with more tact because if you have someone coming to you, you can have a less tact and you can not be as precise. But with this situation, it requires that higher level in order for you to be able to do the same things. Just for your context, that's the main reason why I'm hitting on as hard as I am is because like if it's an inbound lead where they're a little bit warmer and they're already nurtured to a degree and they've already expressed that they want to take a step of some type, that type of conversation is different than you almost pulling it out of them. So the way you do it is nuanced, but you need to still accomplish the same goals, but the way you do it needs to be with done with a little bit more tact.
Perfect. So, yeah, Osman, so you watched the video, right?
Yeah, I watched the video, yeah, that's good.
Perfect. Yeah, so, like, did you have any questions after watching it?
No, obviously, I know you said you help people like myself and so forth. I was doing a previous one before. I was getting 5% commission. I'm trying to move away from that to something 10% plus. I'm starting off part time. I was doing a course previously. I did a high ticket sales course.
Yeah,
And
so, like, you've already done a course, right?
yeah, I've already done a course, that's correct.
Yeah, and, like, can you, like, tell me, like, what was the course? Like, who was your coach?
Yeah, so that is not a bad question. What I've noticed throughout this call, because this is my second time reviewing it, is that we want to make sure that the frame is set to a degree. Now, some people are like, don't use frames because it comes off as salesy. Other people are married to frames. You need to use them every single time. As long as you get what you need to do done, it doesn't matter. in my opinion. Now, later on, there is a frame that you do use as a justifier as to why he needs to answer your questions with better clarity. I think it's around like this section right here. And I think it's something along the lines of like, you have a guarantee, you need to make sure he's committed. I personally would move that further up to here because I know Alex Hormozy basically is like, hey, I know that you have X problem, which I think based on the DMs is how you set this guy. You know his problem already. Hey man, I know that you have X problem. Really, what my intention here, because I know that we can solve the problem, is to see if you qualify for my guarantee and to see if you're a good fit for that. So you already know, hey, I'm an expert solving your problem, but you're still getting them to qualify to you. It does change the overall interaction a little bit and get them to lean in into following your process. I personally feel like I would move that further up into the call based on Alex's framework for how he does that, which you can look it up. You can see what that is. He goes very in depth into how he would specifically do it, but that's how I would do it. Because what I've noticed as we go through this, it's almost like you are plopped down in the middle of the desert, and then we just start kind of stumbling about, trying to like figure out which way is where, what we're trying to do, where we're trying to navigate. Instead, what we would need to do if we are plopped in the middle of deserts, figure out where is north and then where is our goal? Where are we trying to get to? In this context, based on how we start the call, it's very like all over the place. If we had more intention with a really strong opening question after a frame of some type, it would give this call more direction. AKA, what is the biggest challenge you're facing right now? Or in your opinion, what's the biggest reason you're looking to make money with appointment setting right now? Those are two really good, solid questions. Other people have different ones, like what's the goal at the end of the day? What do you find is like not up to the level you'd like it to be? That's another challenge type question. But we need two of those anchor points. What's the problem and what's the goal? So, in my opinion, that's how we would need to start this. Right now, again, this isn't bad. You go directly onto what he says, but you go into what he says without any additional context on like what is actually going on in his life right now that's making him want to get into appointment setting.
Coach,
I don't know if you heard of SSS.
what was his name?
The course is called SSS.
SSS. No, that's my first time hearing about it.
Yeah, so it's SSS. They train you. There's 3 modules. They train you. They sorry, my mind's gone blank. Yeah, they train you. They support you and stuff like that. So um,
Yeah, and how was your experience with them?
it was good. It was good. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was good. But I just want to. I don't just have the confidence within myself. So I just feel like I need to push myself more mentally, physically. And I've got this. I had this 5% role. It was a car detailing company, which was great because my background, my
Yeah,
niche
so
more
he
is
said
education because I was a
confidence.
school teacher previously. So that's more of my background and that's something more of what I wanted to go.
I want to know more about that. When he says confidence, like what specifically is he referring to? Where is it showing up for him? That type of stuff. Now, again, there's like the ideal way the call's supposed to go, and then there's like, okay, we're in the thick of it and we haven't done what we necessarily want to do. How do we recover it? So, if we're going into the recovering phase, it'd be okay, well, how can I actually orient myself in this like desert I just plopped myself into? And how can I figure out where north is? And how can I figure out where we're trying to get to? Getting an idea to situationally understand where we are in the call. That, in my mind, is the most important thing, and doing it so you can move the conversation forward.
Into, and I think that's what I'm struggling with at this moment of time. So yeah, that's yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
so when you say like the car detailing, is it like someone was who coaching people how to do car detailing?
No, that was a job. That was a job.
Oh,
That
okay,
was
okay.
it.
So like yeah, so the coach, like the business that you worked in, what was the niche?
The niche it was car detailing, ceramic coatings, cars, cars, ceramic coatings.
Yeah, I can barely hear you. Like, can you?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you, but I can barely hear you.
All right, 1 second. Hold on. Is it better now?
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
weird. So what was the business? Come again?
So it was a car detailing company that I was working for.
Oh,
I
okay,
did
but
5%
okay,
commission.
okay. So
Yeah,
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 you was, I thought that was some kind of appointment setting job that you were
yeah,
doing.
that's what it was. Appointment setting. So I was getting 5% from any customers that are booking the call. Any one of them close, I will get 5% from them. So I was doing that on part time.
Okay, okay. So like it was like phone appointments, right? Just trying
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get people
yeah,
to
yeah,
do like to detail their cars,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's
Perfect,
spot on.
perfect.
Spot
Like
on. Spot
interesting.
on.
How did you land
Yeah.
such a job?
Well, basically, I found him via Facebook. He asked me quite a few questions like you are right now, and then we had a few mocks, and then yeah, I got into it and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so like interesting. So it wasn't high ticket, I believe, right? Like how much people
I
were
would say it was
being
more.
paid?
I would say it was more low ticket. So let's say from a 3,000, I'd get around 150, for example. So there's all different packages: 3,000, 5,000, 7,000. So it will range from 150 to around just under
So
200,
right now we're
Okay, and
talking
like
about the logistics of this specific situation, which again is totally fine. And you are an expert at what you do when it comes to helping people get into appointment setting and make money. The thing that I would want to know is, okay, is he currently an appointment setter? If so, how much is he making? I know later on it comes out, but I want to know, okay, is this like your full-time thing, or is this something that's kind of on the side? Again, because I've reviewed this, that is something that, basically it's like, okay, if you're talking to this person who's like a B2C, they're not a multimillionaire, I want to know what is their job right now? If their job is appointment setting, how is that going for them? If their job isn't appointment setting, they've tried appointment setting, then what are they doing to keep the lights on? What are they doing to pay their bills? Like that is a key piece of information that we need to know. That's where I usually like to get that fairly early on because then it gives me a better understanding of how to navigate this call. So that's where again, understanding the goal or understanding the challenge questions and how to get those effectively, both of those are important so that you can understand the context of what's going on right now. And then this is a better and more productive conversation as opposed to just willy-nilly asking. Because again, this is a symptom of us just being plopped in the desert and just asking questions based on what happens. But like half this information, even though you're asking it based on what they say, isn't really relevant. But we don't know what is or is not relevant because we don't know again where the north is and then where our location is where we're trying to get to. We don't know either of those. Again, going back to the analogy of being plopped in the middle of the desert, and now we're kind of stumbling around. So that's the biggest thing is getting bearing on a call, which again would be helped with a good frame and with a good opening question, because then we're not trying to like hope and pray that we stumble across something to take the conversation where we need to go. We can move with intention.
How many months did you work with them?
Around 2 months.
2 months. How much
Yeah,
did you make, if I can ask?
so because it was part-time, on a monthly basis, I'll take under 2 grand, under 2 grand.
So part-time. Okay, so you mentioned part-time. So what is it that you do right now? Immediately, I would want to know that. Okay, so part-time, I can't imagine he's doing something part-time and like being able to pay bills on 2 grand, especially in the UK, because I know he's from the UK. That's something that I would immediately want to, okay, so if that's part-time, is that your only thing, or like is that on the side and you have a main thing? That type of stuff.
Like 1600 grand.
Like each month or the 2 months?
Each month, yeah, each month.
Okay, 1600. And why did you stop working with them?
Because it's 5% commission and a lot of calls out, a lot of warm leads and so forth. But I just feel like with the background I've got and the knowledge and so forth, I thought that was better than 5% because I did try to negotiate it, but they said they're only offering 5% and I felt like I'm better than that. So
Yeah,
honestly,
can I ask
Better than that. Okay. So you mentioned you're making 2K. I guess in what way, like you could maybe challenge that, but because of the context of how this guy came in, I don't know if I necessarily would. Um, because I know there's setters that are making freaking like 15 grand a month on a good offer. One of my friends does that. So setting is not a bad thing. Um, part of it's your skill, part of it's how hard you work, and part of it's the offer that you're on. And obviously you kind of go into that a little bit.
you mentioned like the 5% part a lot. So can I ask, why are you, like why do you think like it's better to have higher commissions instead of maybe more traffic or maybe higher tickets? Why is it the
yeah,
commission
yeah.
part?
If it was a higher ticket, then yeah. But because it was my first role, I thought yeah, it would be brilliant. But that was one of the reasons. So and I think they were just brand new starting. So
Yeah, because like if I'm being honest with you, like I used to make maybe 4%
yeah,
like
yeah,
in my first job, and I made 5K in my first month. So it's
yeah,
not about the commission, like it's not about the percentage itself.
yeah,
It's about like the
Yeah, and this is like a minor issue. Um, like you're handling this fine, but it's like what hill are we dying on? Like in my opinion, this hill that we're dying on right now is not the biggest hill to die on. It like doesn't like if we're in the middle of a war, this is not the most important battle to fight. And so dying on this hill doesn't serve the overall like war. Um, again, for your guys' context, that's because I've already seen this call and I'm having to redo this. So I have additional context that you are unfamiliar with. But obviously, I'm trying to do the best I can to help this gentleman get better with his program and, of course, being able to close more deals. But so that's what I would say is like, again, if we had like one piece of main feedback, it's like the opening of the call is extremely important and understanding how to open the call effectively based on is it an inbound person or is it an outbound person that will change the actual like way you go about it and how intense you can be from the beginning. The thing is though, with that being said, you still have to accomplish the same objectives. It's just you can get away with not doing it as well if it's an inbound because they've already shown intent and it contextually makes sense. If you're the one going out to do it, it doesn't always make sense to do it that way in as harsh of a way or as blunt of a way. You have to be more nuanced and more skilled to accomplish the same result with the extra variable of it being colder. So,
The quality of the business, like the amount of leads that you book in, the closers if
100%.
they are good. Okay, just to make it clear.
Yeah.
So how like when did you quit your job? Like how long ago was that?
I'd say less than a month ago.
Okay,
A
and
month ago, yeah.
okay, and like when it comes to like the income goal that you are looking to achieve, like how much are you looking to make?
That's the answer. I don't know what to say to you.
Like
I'll be honest.
give me like
I don't know.
what's the dream goal?
I'd say
Like how
because
much?
the dream goal, honestly, if you want, I'm going to be really humble, yeah. UK, I'll say around 4K.
Like
another thing about UK people, they tend to have a very low understanding of what good is. So, from what I know from UK people and from UK closers, essentially 4K in their mind is like six figures equivalent in the US. So, they're like, oh, it's good. Like, people feel like they've made it a life over there if it's 4 grand. The difference over here in the US is obviously that's chump change. Um, and I think the biggest reason for that is like the American dream and wanting to keep going, pushing, like actually having the belief in yourself to be able to go for more. Over in the UK, there isn't that same entrepreneurial spirit. And so the result of that is there's less um, drive and less perspective on what's actually possible. So that's something that you may want to be aware of on UK calls. Historically, like I know there's a lot of people that are not necessarily fans of UK leads because of that. But that's obviously a little bit of nuance here. So the reason why he says 4K, um, being humble, like one, I would want to know, okay, well, what's your actual goal, not what's humble. And then number two, that's what would be going on in the back of my mind is like, okay, this guy is a typical UK lad. So
why did you decide to be very humble?
Because I'm a humble guy. Humble guy, you know. So I'll take 4K after everything, yeah, 4K.
Yeah, but
I think that's BS. I think he just doesn't believe in his hubs. And that comes from the confidence bit he mentioned earlier. I think he's saying that to be like humble, but he's actually just making his necessity a virtue, aka he doesn't think he has the skills or the opportunity. So to make himself feel better about his situation right now, he's going to say, I'm humble. When the truth of the matter is, if he actually had the skills and would perform, he wouldn't say he's humble. He would have one of the biggest egos on the planet because he's like, yeah, I'm the shit. So that's normal human behavior. I know there's a lot of people that do that. Like if you're in a relationship, and someone says, "Oh, I'm loyal," even if the partner that you happen to have cheats all the time. The thing is, though, if you actually took a look at them, chances are they, in the back of their mind, know they couldn't get anybody better. So they're justifying why they're allowing bad behavior because in their mind, that's the best person that they can get. And to make themselves feel better about allowing that bad behavior, they say they're loyal. So that's an example of what people can do. I think that's kind of what this guy's doing when it comes to the confidence bit and the humility bit is making his necessity a virtue, when in reality, he just doesn't believe in himself to be able to get the results. So that's something that I want to go a little bit deeper on personally.
why not shoot for higher? Because if your goal is 4K, you're probably gonna make two, maybe 2,500. But if your goal is 10K, how much like do you think you'll get the same results? Or if you set bigger goals, you can make
The thing is, that's
better
what
money?
I just start setting bigger goals. I need to have that mindset and just to go for the high ticket sales now. Avoid the low ticket ones and go for the high ones. So yes, I can do 5, 10K. I can, but I think
Yeah.
I know I can. I genuinely know I can. But it's not slow steps. But I just need to have that. Do you understand where I'm coming from? It's good to explain, but because I've been hitting just under 2K a month, it'd be nice to double it. Do you know what
Yeah,
I
of
mean?
course. Like you have to take the first step.
Yeah,
That's
exactly,
you're not
exactly.
gonna
I'm
jump
just
to 10K per month.
yeah.
But the thing is
Because
that
if I could do it, if I know I could do it, well, I'll get too big for my boots, and then when that happens, you can just strike down. I just want to take the slow steps. But you saying that it will make sense as well. So there is no
yeah.
harm in
So like can I ask? Like you used to work as a teacher, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So how much were you making?
Well, annually or monthly,
No, like monthly. Let's say.
under 3,000.
Okay, so you decided to like stop teaching to get into
Yeah.
the high ticket sales, but you actually went down, right?
You know why? Because the role I was doing was part time.
Okay, but
The
like
role I
did
was,
you leave like your teacher job, or you're still doing it?
I'm doing it obviously 1, 2 days a week because I've got a little one now, so I'm doing it 1, 2 days a week. But that's the niche.
Okay, cool. So he's got a little one. I definitely want to understand more about that. It looks like he's downed his hours too. I want to get context on, okay, how much of that you're bringing in from the teaching right now versus setting. I know you left your role. Are you looking for another role? Getting clarity on the numbers around that, because that's going to be important to be able to understand this person as to why, he's doing what he's doing. Because another symptom that I noticed, and I kind of mentioned on the other recording, unfortunately, it's not the best, is I like, and from some of the people who coach me, the biggest thing is having a very, very, very strong opening question. Because if you can get a very strong opening question, not only does it set the tone for the entire call, but it makes it much easier to get to their why, as to why it's actually important to make a change and why that reason is significant to them. The way I think about it is like, why is it significant enough for this person to be willing to crawl over glass to make their goal happen? Because once you have that, whatever that happens to be for them, that's when you can set up the rest of the call based off of that. Now, some people may not want to open up immediately, but at the end of the day, you want to try to get that. And once you get that, it's almost like you can anchor on something bigger and more powerful for them to be willing to make a change. And then every question you ask after you figure out what that is, and then asking questions with that as the reference point, builds up the call more. So if I was gonna, and you go into this a little bit later, but it's like, how long have you wanted to, I think what you specifically is, how long have you wanted to get to 5K? And he's like 2 months. Well, to be honest, he literally just came up with that on the spot. And he's just saying that and trying to like I forget what it is, but basically backtrack it to when he first started setting. And instead of asking that question of how long do you want to make 5K, if we were able to get to the why and be like, how long have you wanted to, be financially free so that you can take care of your daughter the way you feel you need to, he's not going to give you 2 months. He's going to give you a much longer time period, which means that you have more leverage. So that's something else I'll mention as well. And I'll just kind of keep playing it moving
Trying to get
forward.
into, if not something similar. But yeah, so at the moment it was part time. So
Okay, but like, didn't you think if you maybe put in like all your time, you would make better money, or what do you think?
no, because you're killing yourself in education.
Hmm.
It's, it's high
How
risk.
do you
And
mean?
with high ticket, so with high ticket sales, you're more having a conversation with someone. You're getting to know them on the phone. You're talking to them. You're trying to support them and coach them and so forth. But in the school, it's straight 9 to 5 or whatever, and it's very micromanaging. I don't like being micromanaged,
Hmm.
so something
Okay.
like that. So yeah,
Okay. So like in your mind, like how?
So that was a pain point. I would want to understand, okay, when you say micromanaged, I would get clarity on like, okay, micromanage, you mean specifically the teaching position? Okay, how long have you been a teacher? Okay, how long have you noticed and experienced that micromanagement? Blank. Okay. And then how do you feel that, you know, has affected you? Or how has it shown up for you in terms of like having to deal with that and bear that mentally? And then he give you another area of his life where that showed up for him. Okay, and then dealing with that other area for the past however long, in what way has it affected you? Or in what way has that affected the family? Or in what way has it affected like you as a person? Pain point, cool. That'll be like a building the gap on that aspect, but that's something that I want to maybe dig into a little bit.
How long like did you have this goal of, let's say, making 5K?
I don't know. Since I start,
Like,
since I,
is this like the microphone that you're holding in your hand?
it's my headphones.
Yeah, because
Yeah. So that's the thing is like here, the symptom that we're dealing with is like we don't have like a real tangible, like deep reason for him to do stuff. Which not everybody at this level is necessarily going to know what that is, but we have to really help them understand what that would be for them and help pull that out. Um, Part of what you're supposed to do as a closer is like you understand what they don't understand, and then you walk them through that process. Now, the way that you typically do that is by going through that experience yourself. So for me, if I have to help someone overcome fear of investing in themselves, I can walk them through the same process I had to go through when I invested in my first program and when I took the leap, even though I was scared. But because I've taken that step on my own, I mentally understand it and can walk them down that path and walk alongside them to help them understand it so that then they can come to the conclusion on their own and then take the step to then invest in themselves and overcome the fear. Same thing's true here is like, okay, man, well, I can appreciate the 5K, but it's not really 5K. I guess what's on the other side of that? Like, what do you genuinely want at the end of the day? Because money is just a tool to help us live the life we want. So what is that for you? That's what I want to get to. What is unlocked for them on the other side of making the money? Because then that'll give you a goal that is not a numbers-based one, and then you can expand upon it. Oh, I want to have freedom. Okay, what does freedom look like to you? I want to have more time with my family. Okay, in what way are you not able to have the time you'd like right now? A, B, C, X, Y, Z, that's pain, 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 pain. Okay, then what would you do with the time once you have it back? Once you can afford to do that? Blah, 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 blah.
Like when you put it like that, I can barely hear you.
All right, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I won't touch it. Yeah, probably during when I was doing the detailing one, the ceramic coatings one around that around.
Yeah, so like you didn't want to make 5K before that?
COVID. I mean, it's 2025, so that excuse is kind of out the window. I think we're like 5 years past it. That's something else I want to know. Okay, so when did you get into this like program? When was that? So is this like a recent thing? Is this a not so recent thing? That's maybe something I'd want to understand.
All right, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I won't touch it. Yeah, probably during when I was doing the detailing one, the ceramic coatings one around that around.
Yeah, so like you didn't
So I don't know if he said if that was around COVID or he said something else. I don't want to clarify on that.
want to make 5K before that?
You know what it is? I'll be honest with you. Yeah? This is all new to me. Mentally, physically, all of this. I've come from a place where
See, now he's talking about how it's all new to him. But again, if we were talking about financial freedom or taking care of your daughter, that's not new to him. And then it's like, okay, well, I can appreciate this specifically might be new, but I can't imagine having that and accomplishing that is new to you at all. Because I mean, there's real estate, there's trading, there's starting an online business, there's TikTok shop, there's all these other opportunities. Like it changes the conversation because now he can say, well, yeah, but I just ran into this. But if we asked it based on the ultimate why that's significant, he can't do that because it doesn't make sense. Here in this small scope, it does make sense, which is why we're now having to almost scramble to overcome it.
I've never heard of this life. This high ticket sales, appointment setting, DM
Yeah.
setting. It's all new to me. So before that, no, I'll be honest with you, no, never
So
thought
you
I
were
would.
making around like 3K per month as a teacher, and you were
Yeah,
content, you were happy, you didn't want to make more.
yeah. Honestly, because you're finished, innit? You're brain dead. You're tired. You're just physically. But with this, like, it's like me and you were having a conversation. You're helping one another and stuff like that. Who doesn't want to do that? It's amazing, and you get paid on top of it. So.
I mean, a lot of people don't. Freaking IT people don't. Software engineers don't. Super smart people that freaking have no social skills. They don't want to talk to people. They just want to deal with tech. Not, I wouldn't maybe say that on a call, but like if I needed to, that's the way I would challenge that. I'm not saying that's even required for this call, but
Okay, so you'd say like maybe 3 months ago you were able to make 5K, and
I'll take that, yeah.
like what have you done since that to actually make that money?
Since that, I've just been doing that. Since that, I've been doing that job role, and since I've come out, I've just been reaching out to people, sending them messages on Facebook. I haven't really sent many Loom videos, but I have sent some Loom videos.
And how did that go? Like how many videos did you send out?
I'd say 6.
Okay, and how are the responses?
I got 2 responses out of the 6, so it wasn't the greatest, but it was good. It's a learning curve, so it's just about being confident within yourself, speaking, clarity, and so forth. So
Okay. So you sent out 6, you got 2 responses, but did you land any interviews?
no,
Okay. And
I'm
like
not gonna lie to you. I want to be honest with you.
yeah, that's the main goal, because like we can try to act
I'm
egotistic.
not
Yeah,
I'm not
because
ego, man. I'm not ego. I'm just
because at the end of the
honest.
day, I'm here trying to help you, to
Yeah,
actually like assist you in your journey
yeah,
to make that 5K, to making that 10K. So like I appreciate you for being honest. But like if I can ask you, like, do you believe like what you are actually doing right now, like sending out the rooms, reaching out to people, is actually going to land you the position that you're looking to land?
I don't know what will. Sometimes you send the Facebook messages, you send messages, you send all of these stuff.
okay, now so for your context, this is the Dickens pattern he's starting to go into, which is basically getting him to uncover like the internal block, um, so that we can use that to then later be able to potentially objection handle using that. It kind of shifts the conversation from hey, we're talking about the program to, hey, we're talking about internally what's kept you stuck from accomplishing your ultimate why. That's like the way I try to think about it. I have some nuanced tweaks that I would recommend as we go through this, but I think the structure is okay. It just needs to be ironed out a couple of additional things.
And then sometimes you don't get a response, and then it keeps you back. It's like, is this the right thing that I want to do? Even I want to do this, but it just keeps you back because you're going up against hundreds of other people. You're going up
Exactly.
against like what your video said was hit on the nail. What are you doing different outside of the box? And for me being still very new, it's very, very tough just to get into it, you know.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
people out there,
And
there's people out there that will give you low ticket sales just so you can get into it, and then they can use, not use you, but use your resources and give you low outcome. But then it's like, why can't you do this in a high ticket? You know, it's the same thing. So
yeah, because at the end of the day, like the best businesses, the businesses that actually can make you 5K, 10K, they're not on the Facebook groups. Like if you are a
100%.
business owner making 300K or 400K per month, will you be posting in a Facebook group filled out with people who've never done appointment setting in their life? Like,
Mm.
of course not, you know? So, like, people, like, and this is actually what everyone who watches a video about appointment setting does. Like, you've taken a course, right? But, like, somebody who actually just got introduced into appointment setting, the first thing that they do is actually get into Facebook groups and get into job boards and start applying, and everybody.
The other thing that I might maybe do, because the thing is, you're an expert when it comes to this stuff. I would maybe save that for like the pitch portion. Um, this isn't a horrible thing to do, but just when it comes to being in discovery, usually you obviously want to have them speaking the most. If you need to challenge them on something, of course, you need to go ahead and kind of challenge it. But this is something I'm like, what does this accomplish on the call? Not a massive amount, in my opinion, because basically we know he's doing shit and it's not working. And then now we're explaining why it's not working, which we can do that later. So I would continue with the Dickens pattern versus trying to like explain why what he's doing isn't working.
is doing the same.
Mm.
You know, so at the end of the day, everybody's getting the same results, such as they don't land interviews, and even if they land the interview, they actually don't hear back from the business owner.
Yeah,
Okay,
honestly.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, big old disclaimer too. I don't know. I don't think I said at the beginning, but I'm not God's gift to closing. There's a ton of people that are extremely, extremely good at what they do. I'd say I'm decent there, but I'm nowhere pretending like I'm like Josh Lyons, Matt Wright, or anything like that. So I'm still in the process of my journey, still learning stuff. But part of my goal here is to obviously give you what insight I can to help you accelerate to at least what I know. So I understand it better. I can articulate it and then ultimately help more people in the process. So I don't think I mentioned it at the start, but like that's something else. Not pretending like I'm God's gift to closing.
yeah. So, like, can I ask you, like, other than doing that, have you done anything just to land a job?
What, on the high ticket sales spectrum?
Yes, yes.
Obviously, I've searched on LinkedIn. I haven't really created a full LinkedIn account, which I should. I should have done it by now. I'll be looking at LinkedIn. I'll be looking at like Google as well, jobs on there. I've checked Instagram out as well.
Should. In my mind, that's like a symptom of some type of fear. Because basically it's like there's low effort. That's like the whole vibe of this guy is like low effort. Which it might be because he's from the UK and I'm used to selling people from the US. But like that's kind of my vibe. Is like you've put out 6 looms. Like I know people that put out 25 looms a day. So it just screams low effort. So then the question becomes, why is it low effort? Is it because he doesn't believe in himself, which he did mention the confidence earlier. But the thing is like if your why is strong enough, if it's significant enough to you, then whether or not you believe yourself is irrelevant because it just matters so much. So if we got that, that would make this call so much better, in my opinion. And I know that some of the best people in the space, that's what they always shoot for, is really digging into that because that's where all the leverage happens to be. And then you can shift the conversation from a purely logical, like price-based, features-based conversation into more of a personal transformation conversation, which is ultimately where you can really push people hard in a way that they respect.
So, I'm struggling to get around to how to reach out to find appointment setters on Instagram. But if you want my honest truth, other than that, I know there's a loophole on missings, and yeah, those are the few things that I've done differently.
Okay, so like, when you say that you took a sales course, like, did they teach you about how to actually find a job?
Yes,
Okay, and
but
have
it
you
just
tried?
didn't hit me. It's just I'm just struggling doing that, like sending messages on TikTok, sending messages on Instagram.
No, no, don't do TikTok. Please don't do
That's what
TikTok.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So I'm just
Please,
saying, like,
no.
obviously, so for me, I'm like, is this for me? You know what I mean? So then when I
Yeah,
find
yeah, I
out,
know that doubt hits hard. You know, it's
it's
hard.
hard. It's hard. But I know I'll get
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Inshallah, I'll get there. I'll get there.
yeah. But like, there's an analogy that like one of my mentors uses. Like, you want to go to the gym, okay? Like, you can take a supercar to go to the gym, or you can crawl there. Which way do you want to go to the gym?
Yeah, super fun.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you can actually keep on applying. You don't have the like knowledge to actually qualify the business. Like, you don't know if that business is legit, if it's a big people. Because let me tell you, you're at the, yeah, you're at the beginning of your journey. Like, I
Yeah.
like one of my one of my clients who's in the UK. I enrolled 3 days ago. Okay, he worked in 6 businesses, bro.
Mm.
6 businesses, and the best one he made like 2 or 3K in 1 month. 3 of them he didn't make any money after working like 3 months there. So it
Yeah.
actually like the good part, like you just started, you still haven't been like they call it stung, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
at the end of the day, like it's all about knowing what works. But let me ask you, like, why do you think you haven't reached that goal yet? Because at the end of the day, like
because I haven't
some
put
people.
more time than other people. I haven't sent out more videos. I haven't reached out to, I don't know, more
So would you say the problem is maybe with you being consistent?
yeah, consistent.
That was a good question to pull out the internal, which now he's like inconsistent. You got him tied down, and now So you got the leverage needed, and so you're gonna try to do the Dickens pattern on him. I thought it was a little bit earlier that you actually get into that, but it's now.
It's key, and obviously I'm not right now.
Okay, okay. And can I ask, so what do you feel if you like being inconsistent? Like, do you think you have a chance of actually finding that role and making that 5K per month?
No chance if you're inconsistent.
Yeah, so we're going on, which again, nothing wrong with the way you're doing it. Personally, I feel like if we did the Dickens pattern more on the why, that would help a lot because it would just hit harder. But I know that the way the person you learn it from teaches it is like, okay, well, having the number is good enough. But I feel like the number for this guy isn't really based on anything serious. It's just kind of like a pie in the sky idea of 5K. He's going through the process, but it's not actually like rewiring his brain the way that this should. Because it's not like a tangible thing that really truly matters to that guy, in my opinion. Now, if you talked with the guy that you learned this from, chances are he'd be like, yo, you're doing totally fine. Um, that's my opinion. I would want to do this with a little bit more leverage because then it would really like land hard on this guy. And then you wouldn't get some of the BS you'll get a little bit later as you're going through this, which is like he starts to talk about the program.
Mm. And what do you feel that way of like you actually being inconsistent has cost you in the past years?
Waste of money, lack of confidence. Then it's like, is it really worth what you're doing? Then you just start overthinking things, you know?
Mm. And that doubt hits hard, right?
Yeah. Then obviously, then when you're having conversations like this, you should think it's like what has gone wrong and what hopefully will go right. So
Okay,
it's like
and
I'm fresh to this, so it's all brand
okay, and
Yeah, so we just
like
talked
what do you
about the
feel will happen if
wife
you continue being
questioning
inconsistent?
him.
I want to be getting dollars coming in, isn't it?
Mm. And when you say that it's costing you confidence, and you mentioned that in the beginning of the call, like how is that affecting your life currently?
Obviously, the paper, the money wise as well, isn't it? It affects your income, it affects your ability because inshallah, I want to go Umrah, stuff like that. So yeah,
Okay, and do you feel you need to let go of this inconsistency so you can actually get that position and make 5K per month or 10K per
I
month?
know, I
Yeah, so I mentioned this on the other recording, but basically, if we're talking about letting go of something, it usually has to deal with a mindset. I feel like if you're inconsistent, that's more of an action thing. So instead of saying, what are you like, how can you view things differently? It's more of what can you do differently? So the doing is like, because there's like mindset and like worldview, which is the way you view things. And then there's doing, what can you do differently to ultimately like, and it's more action based versus like perspective, because inconsistency is just the lack of action, not a way that you look at life. So that's something else I want to add on here as like a little bit of nuance.
I know I can do it, but it's about hitting the funnels. You know, the tunnels, hit where you choose the right channels to go to, which is the channels to avoid. Because even I'll be honest with you,
So here he goes. He's like, okay, well, I don't know shit. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, but the thing is like if I was able to help you with all of that and you still were inconsistent, what would end up happening? And then he'd be like, well, it wouldn't work or it wouldn't work as well as I'd like. So knowledge aside, everything aside, when it comes to the inconsistency, what do you feel like you need to do differently this time around so that you actually can get to goal or you can get to those 5K months?
even when I'm on Facebook, I'll get people messaging me, but I know they're scams.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
it's not only about the channels, bro, because
yeah,
it's a whole system. I know you
mm,
watched the video, so it's actually like knowing like how to position yourself, knowing where to find these businesses. But other than finding these businesses, you need to have the skills to actually research these businesses to make sure that they are legit. You have to master the outreach method. So you need to know how to reach out these businesses. You need to know how to
mm,
send the rooms. You need to know how to nail the interview, because if you do everything right and you don't do well on the interview, you're not gonna land the position. So it's not
mm,
only
mm,
about the channels per se.
yeah,
You agree?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so how do you
And
feel you
that
can
one, he's just
like avoid
kind of
being
like
inconsistent?
going along with what you said. He's like, yeah, I don't know if he actually believes that.
How do you feel you can view things differently so you can actually make 5K per month?
Yeah. And this is what I mean. It's like view things differently. It's do things in this context because viewing again is mentality, mindset, worldview. Like a good thing to use view with would be like, um, all rich people are evil. That's like a way of looking at life. Okay, how can you view things differently? People, rich people can be good, or rich people are good, or whatever the hell you want to replace it with. Doing is like actions. So this guy's inconsistency is actions wise. So if we dug deeper on inconsistency and realized the reason why he was inconsistent is because he didn't feel worthy and he didn't believe in himself, then that's a view of himself. And then we might need to Dickens pattern on that to get that and view himself as, well, it's not that you're not worthy, it's that you don't need to be worthy if you do the right things to get the results. And then as a result of you getting the results, you are by definition worthy of it because you have it. So that could be, if you were to use view on that specific situation, that would make sense. Here, he's just going to be confused. He's like, what do you mean? And I think that's actually what he's going to say next.
Put a few more hours in on a daily basis. Because what I do evenings at the moment, so that's what my aim is for now. Evenings, for example, just to put a few more hours in and do some more research of the businesses, I'll say. But I don't really know the full answer to your question. If you hold my own issue.
Yep, exactly. So he's just like, he's going to what he knows, which is what he's doing right now. Not as he moved logical because he's like, I have no idea what you just said, so I'm going to talk about this other stuff, but I have no idea what you just said. So it didn't actually land in his mind.
Yeah, so like I'm just trying to ask you because it's like being inconsistent has got you a lot of money, a lot of stress. It's affected your confidence. It's made you doubt if what you're doing is actually right, if it's gonna work or not, right? So how do you think you need to view things differently? What do you think you need to do to actually stop what's happening right now?
Just have a positive mindset, Be more
Yeah,
positive.
but is mindset gonna land you that position?
Mindset. Be like, okay, and when you say mindset, maybe clarify on that. What exactly do you mean when you say mindset? He'll give you a definition. And then what I would be trying to do is take that definition and distill it down to where it becomes action. Because then the action is going to be the opposite of inconsistency and then committing to consistent action. Because then you will get the results.
As I said to you, bro, I don't know the answer to your question. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah. So now he's just like, I have no idea. That's because of like how we did the Dickens pattern wasn't quite aligned, and the building blocks we were using to make the Dickens pattern didn't quite make sense. So now he's a little bit confused. In my mind, I'm like, well, if we like really got to the juice, aka why what he's doing is important, and then we know what's going on right now, then it makes the Dickens pattern, number one, make more sense. We have more leverage, and then number two, when it comes to handling like being inconsistent, if we changed it from viewing to doing, then it would land better. And then if he came back with a, well, bloody, 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 blah, it's like, well, even if you had all the help, but you were inconsistent, what would be different? Nothing. Okay, so then what do you need to do differently so that you can ultimately hit this goal? I need to take action, be consistent, etc. Okay, and then you can use that to continue the Dickens pattern. But right now we're just getting lost because it doesn't quite make sense. It doesn't quite land.
It's a tough
Like
question.
what? Okay.
Like we can say inconsistent, which is fine. But by you saying how will you be consistent? It's I don't know because I thought I was doing it by sending messages. It's like you're back to square one. But it's like how do you be consistent? And honestly, the answer to your question, I genuinely don't know. This is why I'm probably
Yeah, because yes,
Yeah, that's why there's like there's that lack of sync, and he's just being honest. He's just like, yeah, dude, I have no idea because it doesn't make sense to me.
I see your point. I see your point. And yeah, I understand that you need to be more consistent, but you talk a little bit about you having the knowledge to actually do it. So it's not about like if you found the knowledge, let's say it's like the supercar that you wish that you have. Okay, it's not about finding it. It's about when you find it, when you buy it, when you ride it, when you drive it. Okay, so like you say that you don't have the knowledge. So if there was a way for you to get that knowledge, so you can actually make that happen, will you commit to that?
It depends. Yeah, but
Yeah,
Depends.
see, and now because of that,
price,
now
the
he's
price.
like,
Mm.
he feels like, okay, now we're trying to put him in the bind, or this is my interpretation. He feels like, okay, didn't make sense. Okay, he hears, hey, you're saying if there was a way for you to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, would you commit to it? Which now he's like, I didn't understand it. Now you're asking me to commit to something that I don't know about yet. So then he's like, oh, well, this is a sales call. What's the price?
But what do you think? Like when you say price, like what do you use this word? Let's get salesy a little bit. Like why
That's
it's
how
gonna be mindset. Like why do you say it's the price?
because obviously with sales with culture, there's always a price involved. So if there's a
Yeah,
price,
but at the end of the day, what price will you put in? You making 5K, not wasting money, having your confidence back. What price will you put in that?
True, very true.
That's a good reframe, but personally, I don't like the fact he's consistently looking out the damn window. Like, where are you looking at, man? Freaking Manchester?
Yeah, very true.
But
What price can you put on that? Yeah, it's true. What is your price?
we'll get into that. We'll get into that. But I have to make sure that you actually need what I have, which I know that I can get you.
See, and this part right here is where I would potentially move it up. Like what you're going to say here, I would potentially move this further up Again, the way Alex Hormozy talks about it is like, cool, man, I'm an expert at solving whatever problem you talked about in the DMs. Really, what I'd like to do here is see, do you qualify for the guarantee? Because of, and then this.
where you want to go, but I need to make sure that like you're gonna commit to that because I have a guarantee at the end of like I'll show you the guarantee at the end of the course. So I have to make sure that I'm enrolling people who are serious about what they're doing. Because if I have a guarantee and I enroll anyone, then I'm just losing money because I'm gonna get the money, you will not do the work, you will not get the guarantee and refund you. So I don't want to do that. So I have to make sure that
Yeah.
people who I enroll actually in my coaching can actually do what I tell them to do, which is basically like very simple, but I need people who are committed to doing what they need to do to reach the goals that they want to reach. Sounds good?
And what is your course that you offer?
Yeah, exactly. So if you move that further up at the very st top of the call, and then immediately after that, we're like, okay, in your opinion, what's the biggest reason you want to make money with appointment setting right now? Or what's your biggest challenge? In your opinion, what's the biggest challenge when it comes to becoming an appointment setter or getting into appointment setting? Like those two powerful questions, plus like this frame, I feel like this would give the call a lot more direction. If we go back to the analogy I used before of being plopped in the middle of the desert, we're stumbling around, we would be plopped in the middle of the desert, but then we'd immediately be like, okay, that's where north is, and that's where the goal that we're trying to get to is. So now we have a direction, and the whole call has intention, and we can move the conversation forward through the different steps needed to then get this guy in the best position to get leverage, and then ultimately get this guy out of his own way.
Come again?
What is the course that you offer?
Yeah, we will get into that, but okay, I just need to like to ask you, like, do you feel you are really ready to actually be consistent so you can make that 5K per month or 10K per month?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. I've
Okay,
got
and
before.
Believe so. I don't like that word. Well, I mean, believe, I mean, you either are or you're not.
So, yeah.
okay, so like, given that this has been a want and need for you so far, like, is it now that you are wanting to be consistent?
Yeah, so now you're trying to continue the Dickens pattern after all that crap. This would make so much more sense if like this first section was really handled. Because I mean, I don't have a huge amount more time I have to kind of go over this, but like if you change those things, the whole rest of the call is easier. Because I know specifically the process you're using, and his whole process is based on getting this first part right. If you can get the first part right, the whole rest of the call is much, 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 much easier. But because there's been a couple key things that have not quite been the way we wanted it to, it's now resulting in these additional problems you're having to like fight on the call, and it's making your life a whole hell of a lot harder. And not only is it making your call a hell of a lot harder, but the gravity and the momentum that you're building to get them to make a change is not as high because we're having so many roadblocks. So when we get to objection handling, then the problem is like we don't have objection handling with teeth. Because if we do this right, we can objection handle with teeth. And what I mean by that is like, if you have an animal that just got gums and tries to bite you, like it's not that big of a deal. If something's got freaking canines and has got like sharp teeth, like that's a problem. And so it's holding them accountable to ultimately their standards for themselves. But with the leverage we gain here, it's not a huge amount, which transparently, just for your context, we need to always keep the intention of doing what's best for the prospect. Now, that being said, by us having the best interest of the prospect at heart, we will automatically get the right leverage to then be able to hold them accountable at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to the end of this to where we start the objection handling because I think it was money and that turned into wife and then sleep on it.
Okay, I'll stop
I'll put it
the.
right.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so the
No,
investment
no,
is.
I think. Oh, it's gone off. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
No, yeah,
I was looking at the paper. It's like,
yeah, no worries. You can start sharing your camera. Like that was the last slide. Okay,
oh,
so
okay.
the investment is 2K, and I have a guarantee. Okay, so the guarantee is that if you do what I teach you for the first 30 days, you follow every step, you do the work, you do the outreaches, and you don't actually land the role and work with you for free for another 30 days. If for some reason, which never happens, you don't land the position in those 60 days, I'll refund you all the money, no questions asked.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
And that's $2,000, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good
It can be
guarantee.
pounds if you want.
I think that's like 15. Yeah. 15. Okay. Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, that's basically it.
And how do you take payment wise?
Yeah, I'll send you the payment link and you can pay with your credit card or your Visa.
Do you do like payment plans or anything like that?
Yeah, so immediately he's asking about payment plans. Um, Not to say that's always the case, but a lot of times if they're thinking payment plans, they're like, okay, that's a good amount of money. How am I going to potentially make that work? Are there any sort of like things you can do, that sort of stuff? So there's a chance that this guy doesn't have the capital, potentially. I would want to get clarity around that. But before I do, okay, based on everything we've gone through today, I'd get tied down on the process specifically, being able to get you to that 5 grand a month for you and your family. Yes. Why? Okay, cool. So I know you mentioned, the finances piece. There's multiple ways you can do it. You can do the money aside based on the process. Would you do it? If you believe this is the right thing and now is the right time. That's one of Cole's, Gordon's stuff. Uh, I know that other people, like if you had a bag of money in your hand, would you do it? Why would you do it? And then is the case you don't have the money, you have the money, or you don't, or you don't have all of it, but you have some of it. Like that's another way you can maybe break it down. Another one is like there's three types of people. People that have the 2K in their bank account, but they hate to see it go. People that have it in their bank account, but they've got like freaking like 2,200 bucks and they're not gonna be able to eat or it's stressful. And there's people that don't have it at all. And we have to get creative. So what I would want to do is understand, okay, what is the finances like right now, personally? Different people have different philosophies for how they go about it. But in my mind, that's something that I would maybe want to do is just to understand what that is.
Usually not, because
Because 2 grand is not a lot of money at the end of the day. To UK people, it probably is a lot of money because again, that's like half of 4,000 and 4,000 is their equivalent of six figures. So that's something that you need to keep in mind too, who we're speaking with. So in his mind, he could be like, oh shit, that's 50 grand worth of stuff. Or not 50 grand, but that's like 5 grand worth of like spending power, which could freak people out sometimes. Um,
give you 100% of everything. So we will, when we start working, I'll just give you my all, and I'll give you all the material that you need to work with.
No, as in payment plans. So obviously, if I don't have the 2,000, do you do payment plans? So
yeah, if I don't have the 2,000. Okay, well, let me ask, do you have the 2,000 or what does that situation look like? I don't want to assume anything, but do you have the 2,000 or what does that situation look like? Go into the finances.
a weekly
Like,
or monthly plans or anything like that?
yeah, so I can't really do monthly plans because I'll find you the job in
Oh, yes, 30 days,
a couple
isn't
of
it?
weeks.
Sorry.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
no worries, no,
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
very common question, but
yeah.
like I can try to put things with you if you're willing to make it work. So like, tell me, like, give me like an insight on what's going on, and we can try to figure out something for you.
Okay, what I'll do,
And so
Can
now he's trying to get off the call.
you pull up your camera so I can see you, because I don't like to talk to myself.
sorry, man.
No, it's, yeah.
Sorry. So obviously, I just need to have a discussion with my wife and then see what payment.
I just did the wife to talk about the finances. Here's the thing. In today's day and age, people know their finances. Um, there's literally zero reason why they wouldn't know their finances. So that's, in my opinion, kind of like a smoke screen. He should be able to answer it here on the call to figure out a game plan. Now, the way you could do is be like, hey, I don't want you to even go to your wife if this isn't something that's even possible. I just need to know if it's something that is possible. So can we have an open and honest conversation about like what you do have? And then if it makes sense, great. If it doesn't, no worries. I'm not trying to put any additional stress on your wife if this isn't something that even makes sense. So he's trying to leave. I would just make it make sense as to why he needs to stay on and then answer my questions.
Plan you can come up with, and then I'm more than happy to see what options you have available. But I know because it's 30 days, 2 days is quite a bit for me. And then yeah.
But
What's the
Usman,
time?
that's exactly what
What's
you
the
do.
time? What's the time where you are? Because it's 8 o'clock now. I think it's 7 o'clock.
So yeah, now he's trying to like add in logistical shit. What's your time? Can we reconnect tomorrow? That type of stuff.
What's the
Yeah,
time where you
it's 9 p.m. my time.
are? Okay. Oh, you want 1 hour forward. Okay, that's fine. It's tough, isn't it? Because
And again, we're dealing with this because we don't have a huge amount of teeth, a huge amount of leverage from earlier. If we got more leverage, then this would not be something that like it's so much easier to handle objections when you actually have good leverage. But the only way you can get good leverage is by asking good questions and discovery. So this is a symptom of something earlier up that we need to fix. It can be fixed based on some of the context and content I've told you up to this point, but this is a symptom of a bigger issue.
can I sleep on it? And then we
You,
can
like, how long do you want to sleep on it?
today, tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll get back to you.
Yeah, no worries. Of course, yeah. No, it's like,
Because it seems very good, but it's just finances to get straight out is quite a bit for me right now, which is fine. But
do you think like for you to put in 2K to make, let's say, 50K per month per year, like, or 5K per month, is that like a lot to
no, it's
allow?
just right now. It's right now. Yeah, right now.
Yeah, but that's exactly why.
Yeah, see, they're talking about the money again. It all comes back to the money. It's not the wife, it's not the sleeping about it, it just is the money. Be like, hey, let's go put all those things over there. Like, we're having a money conversation right now. That's the context of this. And so all we need to do is make sure that we actually have that discussion here today. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to sleep on it. You don't need to talk to your wife. We need to figure out, is this something that even makes sense? Because at the end of the day, if I can help, I want to. If I can't help, that's also totally fine. but not knowing exactly what's going on and not at least giving you the chance to have us figure out something doesn't make sense to me. So are you open to actually having that conversation so that we can see if this is something that would even work?
You should do it, Usman, because 2K is a lot
I know.
right now.
It is a lot. Yeah, it is a lot. It is.
And it should be intimidating because, like, I'll tell you a small story. Like, I have
Yeah.
another program. As I told you, it was like 5K before, but it's 8K now. Okay,
Yeah.
and I had one of my clients. Like, he wrote easily. Like, it was nothing for him. 5K, yeah, he paid right away, and he ended up not actually doing the work. And I kept on reaching out, trying to keep him accountable, and like, because he didn't really care about the 5K, he didn't do the work. So if like you did the 2K like very quick, I wouldn't be very optimistic.
So let me just run it down for you. Let's just say I start on a Monday. What happens from a Monday to a Sunday? Just break it down.
So
I know you
yeah,
told
you
me,
bring in
just break
logistics
it
to
down.
try to like put
Exactly,
time
no
and
worries.
space
So
between
what
the
I'll be doing is,
decision.
as soon as you enroll, I'll send you the agreement. Okay, the agreement has the investment, has the guarantee, everything. Okay, then I'll send you some questions that I need for the onboarding call. Okay, you can answer these questions, and as soon as you answer these questions, we'll book the onboarding call. I'll do my homework. I'll check your accounts. I'll see the niches that will work for you. I'll do my homework, and then we'll hop the call. We do everything on that call. We'll start the process. Okay, and I'll give you some new homework. So what you'll be doing is identifying your niches, looking for these businesses in the niches, and joining their funnels and everything. And then
Mhm.
as soon as you do that, we book another call. So it really depends on you. Like, let's say I send you questions and you give me the answers in a couple of hours, and we book the call for tomorrow, and you do the work in a couple of days. So it really is tailored for you. So you can go through the whole process in a week.
Yeah,
It's up to you.
self-paced basically.
Come again?
Self-paced. The learning
Yeah,
is self-paced.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
But very important. It's very important to put a plan and go through the plan. So if we plan to do everything in a couple of weeks, you gotta believe you're gonna do it in a couple of weeks. Because I need to keep you accountable. If you tell me, I'm gonna do a call a week and you don't stick by your word, I'm gonna keep you accountable. I'll be calling you, I'm gonna be messaging you, I'm gonna be on your ass to do the work.
That's good. That's good.
Because
And how many people? Because I know you said you do 5 people at once. What is your highest turnover you've had for your customers in a month?
like, what do you mean by like turnover?
So what's the highest someone has made in their first month, and what's the lowest?
The lowest, like, it really okay, Osman, I need to give you like something that I always tell my clients, especially on these calls. Okay, well, when I say a 5K position, it really depends on the position itself, but it really more depends on your skills and your work ethic.
Mhm.
Because like when I was making 15K in the business that I was making 15K, I had people who were working with the same leads in the same platform, and they were making 3K.
Yeah, I would have maybe
So
handled that in the pitch itself versus having it. So this question, in my opinion, should have been answered before. So he has this context because then he wouldn't be asking how much this context you're giving him would maybe done in the pitch. I know I didn't really watch it, but this is like a logistical question that I think probably would have been made more sense here.
at the end of the day, I can get you into that position, but for you to make that money, you have to make sure that your skills dialed in
Because then
and
it'll
that
give
you
him a ton
actually
of
put in the work.
clarity
And that's
too.
why
It's like,
that
yeah, we'll find you a position that does X, Y, you do like if you can get because you know this better than anybody. Super nitty gritty, you could probably on the freaking 2, 3 minutes map out exactly how much hours, how many messages, what the price point of the thing would need to be, and the commission structure, all that for them to get to that 5 grand. Like you could probably map that out specifically for this guy. Because then that if you did that even during your pitch, then you wouldn't have this question. But again, this question's kind of a BS question. He's trying to add time and space between the decision
I make like 2K
because
is
of the
nothing for me. Okay?
finances.
Where I make money is when people actually land the job and they need coaching on how to do the appointments. That's where I get them on a monthly payment plan, and I can actually coach them on how to do appointments.
So that 2,000 is for 30 days. Is that correct?
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yeah, come again, just
Sorry,
make sure that
the 2,000 is for 30 days only. Is that correct?
yes, for 30 days. Now, if like some of my clients actually land the role in like in 2 weeks, so I'll give you like a coaching call on how to do everything like instead of you for the rest of the time.
This sounds cool. Okay, what I'll do, I'm speaking to my wife. And then what is the earliest appointment is 6 p.m., isn't it? Like today, the earliest appointment you take is 6 p.m.
Yeah, I can actually do a little bit earlier.
No,
Yeah,
6 p.m. is fine. What I'll do, once I get off the call, I'll speak to her, and then I'll see how much I have together, and then I'll give you a call.
okay,
Book a
okay,
call
perfect,
tomorrow,
perfect.
and then
Yeah, okay. So like,
sorry,
Yeah,
before
he's
you
just adding time and
go,
space.
um,
But this is again a
okay.
symptom of
no, bro,
like
no,
the
no, no,
lack
no.
of
I'm
leverage.
actually
I
really
know I know how it is because I've done the process.
Yeah, so we would need to like call out this because basically desperate times call for desperate measures. If you don't think he's going to come back, Hail Mary. Okay, we're essentially doing a completely new discovery, and we're being like super serious about like, hey man, like time out. Like genuinely from what we've gone through, do you feel like this can get you where you want to go? Okay. Are you willing to actually follow the process? If I bring you in, like we work together, we put you in, is there any reason why you wouldn't put in the work to make sure you can get to those 5K? Okay, what would that actually do for you to be able to do that? I don't know if you already covered that in Future Pace. Um, but you're almost doing a new discovery. And then it's not as effective as doing it earlier because now money's on the table and now he's going to be a little bit more closed off. But that's essentially what we'd have to do is because we're kind of scrambling at this point. Is like, okay, we need to get some type of leverage that makes sense for the situation. So he leaves the call. Chances are he's not coming back. we need to get into the money conversation, but the only way we can get into the money conversation is by tying it back into why he's doing what he's doing and why it's meaningful for him to do it and not put shit off. And then who he needs to be to make that happen. We have that conversation, then we bring it back. So what would that guy do right here, right now? Do you feel like he'd leave the call without having an understanding of if this is something that would make sense? Or do you feel like he would be the person that would be resourceful and figure out a way to make it make sense? They would say the latter. Okay. So then when it comes to this, like, who do you want to be? Do you want to figure this shit out? Or do you want to be the guy that guarantees that he's not able to do it?
And I know it can be hard and challenging. It's not just being repetitive. So please, I didn't mean to be rude at any point. So
Of course, I know. It's
no, no,
actually like I'm very used to this. I'm very used to this.
yeah, I'll change your mind and stuff like that.
Yeah, I ask hard questions because at the end of the day, I want to change your life. I need you to get
Yeah,
out of your way
100%.
to do this. Because at the end of the day, if you don't get out of your way, then I just failed you. Like if you go away,
Exactly.
it's not about the money. It's about like me failing you. Like knowing that Usman, I
Yeah.
could have helped Usman, but I didn't because I didn't actually challenge him.
You know, no, I really,
Okay,
really appreciate it. So what I'll do,
of course,
I'll hop off and then I'll have a chat with her. And then
of
we'll
course,
go
of
from
course. So
there.
can I ask
Yeah.
before you hop off? Like, what do you think is
Yeah.
actually coming up when you chat with her, just to see if I can help?
Obviously the financial side of things, isn't it?
Yep, it's the money.
Okay,
That's
It's
okay,
the money.
yeah, yeah.
okay.
So
So
I'm gonna let you next.
okay, so
Yeah.
can I
Now
get
So
like
here's the
we
other
are
thing.
quite
Like, we can't
I'm
pull
specific
blood from a
with this, if that
stone.
makes
Like
yeah,
sense.
yeah, I
this
respect
guy,
that. So
if
I
he's
have
I think
literally
I'll
got
get to
$2 to his name, obviously we can't do a ton with that. But getting that clear understanding is extremely important, which I know you go for a deposit. He says no, and that's kind of like what all she wrote. But hopefully that makes sense. I'd say overall, definitely have to improve some things. The biggest thing is really the beginning, setting the tone with the agenda, because that'll set the tone for the rest of the call, and then it'll make it much easier for you to get to the why and why it's significant for them to make a change. Because if you can get that, then the whole call changes. And then it makes it so much easier for you to get additional leverage. It's kind of like a snowball, where it's like at the top of the call, if you put the snowball on the right track, it becomes massive by the time you get to the commitment part of the call and the tie downs and all those things like that. And then you don't get crap like, well, it depends on how much it costs. Like they're like, I'm wanting to make a change for me, my family, my future. And then when you run through the pitch, it's with that in mind. And then you can pitch to that versus pitching to just 5K, which is not something he kind of just made up on the call to make it make sense and to not look like a weirdo. And then when you do objection handling, it has teeth so that you can actually move them out of their own way in an ethical way. So that when he gives you it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that, you can be like, with all due respect, no, that's all bullshit. Let's move to the side. We're having a conversation now. If you genuinely want to get to where you want to go, he's going to be like, yes, okay. And then you can have that conversation. Now, he might still be broke. Don't know. That's the thing. We don't know what he has on hand right now. And that's a problem. But assuming we figured that out and figured out if it's even possible, then we can navigate the conversation better. Hopefully that makes sense. In terms of this, guys, if you have any additional questions or insights, you can obviously leave them in the comments. Please leave a like, potentially share this with someone if you feel like it'd be helpful. Disclaimer again, I am not God's gift to closing. There's a ton of people in this space that are much better than myself, but I also wasn't born yesterday and I've been through a shit ton of training and I've spent a ton of money on my education. So if you need any help, feel free to reach out on Instagram or on Facebook, and then I will get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, y'all have a wonderful day and look forward to hearing from you soon.